Right, we're back with another episode of Hot Take Point Made League of Legends Edition. Obviously, at the time of recording, MSI just finished, but EWC, actually at the time of recording, starts in like a day and a half or something, it'd say like that. So it's not far away from EWC, so potentially maybe even bridge some takes between the two. And as always, there will be some takes from you, our dear audience. So if you want to submit your own take, become a Last Free Nation Discord subscriber, and there is a channel, Hot Take Point Made LOL Takes or something it's called. There's one for the CS chat one as well if you're a fan of both games. And you can submit questions there. By the way, interesting detail, you can also, as well as submitting hot takes to this, submit questions to Summoning Insight for that viewer question segment, submit questions for the Four Horsemen with Richard Lewis. So you can just basically, once you have access to the Discord there, you can just submit for all the perks. So where are we going to start on this one? Because I will say, we haven't ever done one. Like on the CS one, we once did like a sort of like an audit of, what were our past takes, which ones were good. I will say a lot of takes actually that we had coming into MSI were pretty good. Like, by the way, that FlyQuest one banged. There you go. Oh, yeah. Now, I will say, as usual, because they're from NA, they don't actually win series. What you do is just almost beat really good teams. So, almost beating things is almost the new beating teams, it turns out. Then you had we had a whole bunch of takes against like the BLGs of the world, etc. So I think we had some interesting ones overall on those. So where are we starting this time? Who has a take to start this episode off?
I'm good to go first if you want here, guys, because it's about MSI. So I was looking at it in review, and I've now rewatched all the games in the upper bracket twice. Okay,
get ready.
I actually think if HLE were at MSI, they would have won the event. If HLE were at MSI, they would have won the full tournament. I think they would have beaten Gen G in the final, and they would have been MSI champions.
Okay,
had they been. Yeah.
Hit me with some reasons then.
So I actually don't think Gen G were anywhere near as good as they were domestically, particularly how good they had to beat HLA in the reverse sweep. Now, you've also got the HLA that fell down to T1, but that did just look kind of to me like a complete mental boom, like a very rare mental boom team collapse, which obviously could happen. But for example, I think Canyon was maybe the third best jungler at MSI. He had very good games, but he was in no way the totally transcendent version of Canyon. I think Chovy in the finals was fucking unbelievable, but in every other series apart from it, he was still very, very good Chovy, but not that transcendent. Chovy that played against HLE might be one of the best players I've ever seen play any game of games of League of Legends period at all, and he's it was only Chovy could beat HLE that day. It was literally just him. He was literally just sent to beat them. And I think a lot of the strengths have translated really, really well. Particularly for the fact of people talking about Doran versus Zeus, which is more of a domestic narrative than it is an international one. I also think if you look at the bot lane in terms of Viper, the best player, not so much the best player, but the person whose bar moved the least was Ruler. Ruler was able to really break himself apart. But if you kind of look at HLE, Viper was in very, 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 very good form as well. And I think that would have been a great matchup pairing, you know what I mean? Because they have similar pryos early, and they'll be able to take Gumayushi was amazing at the event, but one of his problems is he doesn't take as many picks away from Ruler in draft, where I feel Viper would be able to contest a lot more in specific picks. And the other one is, I think a lot of this tournament came down to who had the best support jungle. It's one of the reasons I think AL fell a little bit short, because they did have Keire Tarzan, but Keire Tarzan had a little bit of a breakdown on the Keire side, not the Tarzan side, whereas I actually think Peanut Delight is the second best, or usually competing for the best support jungle duo. And I think at this tournament they would have been they would have given teams a lot of fucking problems.
What do you think, Zaboutine?
Is it that hard of a take? But I think that, generally speaking, this year, the top 3 in Korea can win. I think each of these teams can win an international tournament. I would say, though, I still think that this version of T1 will struggle against HLE and Gen G at every single tournament. It just seems that these two teams have what it takes to beat Game 5 T1, which no one else can, but they can. So I think it's not far-fetched when you see how dominant they've been during winter to assume that they had a slump during their domestic playoffs, which clearly seemed to. They didn't look like anything close to the HLE we've seen throughout the year. But I would say like in any situation, if you say, oh, HLE can be a contender for an international tournament, I think the answer is always yes. Could they have been winning against this Genji? Probably. I think the matchup against T1 would have been hard because I think that T1 struggled against Genji. I think HLE has a pretty good matchup against Genji, but I think that T1 is pretty good against HLE as well. So there is this kind of like, triangle of like who beats who, and it happens to actually effectively be the same in the top lane, right? Like Doran, like Zeus chokes against Doran. Doran's really good against Zeus, but Zeus is really confident against King for some reason. So you have this kind of triangle of like rivalries, but saying that HLE could have won it, like no problem, I'm on your side. That said, I think that it is with this specific meta, and the fact that like if your mid can blind pick something and carry the game, it's so easy to win. I think that Genji would have been the favorite no matter what, because I think that Zeka has to take Chovy to very specific matchups. That usually it's very easy to reach these matchups, the Sylas Akalis or the Ahri Sylases or all these things. I think that Annie has been a pivot in draft that like cancels Ahri. So it's very hard to get like these proactive matchups because you can't just blind Ahri and the guy has to go Sylas and then you have the early of Sylas Ahri, because now if you pick Ahri, you have Annie. So because of these picks, the arrival of Wukong and all these things like the rise in priority in this draft makes Genji unbreakable in drafts so far. Like I haven't seen anyone put them like back to the wall. And for this reason, I think they would have been largely the favorite in the tournament. And I think that until there is a major, like either breakthrough for drafting this year or a big major champion change that reorganized the hierarchy of picks, I think that Genji is going to be the favorite until a major change happens.
I'm actually going to disagree with Zaboutine. Here's why. I actually think it's a way hotter take than you're giving it credit for, because here's the thing. First of all, right, I agree. If you make it really abstract and you use crucially the word could, not would, then it just becomes a normal take, which is the first stand champions and the second best team in Korea for most of the split could have won the international event. That's nothing. Yeah, you're right. By the way, you could probably say that any time ever. Whoever wins MSI if they're Korean could probably win Worlds. Whoever's top 2 in Korea could probably win the international. That's not that tough. But he said they would have won it. Now, that's actually hotter, Zaboutine. He's basically saying if we could go back in time and not have T1 go, and instead HLE went, he thinks actually it's HLE that are the champions, not Genji. Now, the reason why that's a banger hot take is because, one, they already lost to Genji domestically, and then they got 3-0 by T1. So I think everyone does in League do that whole classic sports take of you're only as good as your last game. And if your last game was just getting 3-0 clapped by T1, who was supposed to be a whole level below the top 2 Korean teams, that would make it so that if you put it this way, if you set the betting line after that game, Keire would get crazy odds. He'd probably get like fucking 10-1 or something mental, or 5-1 or something bonkers. But I'm with you. If you just look at the way, first of all, that tournament did play out, I'm totally with you on the Genji angle. What I think makes Genji look goated is, it's funny enough, if you follow in Counter-Strike, it's the same thing with Vitality. Yeah. It's not that Zimu and Chovy have to be the best every game to win. That's some old shit. These guys win even when they have an off game. Like, the whole team is just so cracked. You really do get that. I actually thought this was one of the best examples this year of like Genji won this tournament by committee. Like, Rulo would have his series here, and then Keane had a series over here. He said, then, by the way, then Chovy do it at the end, turns up in game 5, Smurfs on the whole thing. Like, Canyon had his games. Even fucking Duro had, like, he was picking fucking Pike in game 5 for all the marbles. Like, the last year, if you go back to 2024, that is way more like Chovy has to be the best player. Lehen's smurfed out his mind. But aside from that, it's a way more top-side team. That's why everyone was saying it's the greatest top-side ever. As I said on Summoning Insight, the joke of this Genji is it's the greatest topside ever, plus Ruler, maybe the greatest ADC. Why would you make the whole team the greatest? This is fucking crazy, this roster. So I think that's a way spicy one, but I know what you mean, Keire. I do think it is plausible. Like, if Genji had played that way, I don't think it's impossible that Animal Life could beat him. Then I'll add in as well, I think the top lane angle is a great one. I actually do think, like, I don't think Doran was as bad as people made out, but I do think top lane wasn't as strong as people thought. Like, Keire had some really good series. He also had some nightmare games, mate. Had some really bad ones. And you look at some of the top lanes in general, I think Zeus could have walked in and had crazy impact on this tournament, mate. Think of some of the picks he has. And I'm with you. If I'm going to look at people like Grula and Gumayushi going crazy, put my boy Viper in with those picks. By the way, he actually likes shit like Zig picks. He doesn't just do that as a shit drafting. He actually likes playing that. So I think he would have smurfed on this tournament. Like, and yeah, you're right. Actually, in the end, I do think the most underrated matchup was just jungle support. It's even why T1 was good, because Keire was fucking playing dope and Ona's really good as well. Like, that factor was a massive component. It's why actually probably the most underrated player from Gen G is Duro. Like, mate, he also take the nameplate off. He had some fucking bonkers tournament for a rookie. So no, I actually think it's a good take. I do think it's a good take. And I'll even throw in there as well, if you know every fucking game's going to game 5, let's get fucking Hanwha Life coaches and Zika in the game then. They're sort of pretty good at winning game 5s in general. They've only lost one in recent memory, haven't they? Like, pretty fucking good, aren't they? So I think it's a good hot take, actually. No, we'll never know. It's some Doctor Strange shit, but it's a good one. And by the way, I'm also with you in general on what you're saying. The other thing is, Zaboutine, the coolest thing, in my opinion, about MSI was, in my opinion, these 3 teams, Gen G, T1, and Anyone's Legend, all 3 of those teams can go home and go, I could have won that tournament. Like, for reals. Yeah. Like, those were just awesome fucking back and forth series, yeah. Well, great. Basically, it's only the BLGs and below that have to go fuck yourself. You were dog shit. Right, what about the next take? Who are we going to next? Zaboutine, do you have one?
Oh, I have one about Europe. Which, you know, we had the Doomer, like I would call the NA Doomer cycle, where your international teams get beaten up in a pretty fashionable manner. So now everybody's going with their, long Twitter threads about how do you fix Europe and why we're lazy, and asking Chovy about draft. Like if Chovy was watching any of the EU teams, it's like, and people come to me, it's like, oh, Zab, Faker said. I'm like, yeah, Faker is watching GX versus SK. Yeah, trust him. So I have a very, very spicy take, which is, I think that despite looking and being at this tournament, probably the worst region of them all, right? Because LTA is merged. I think that Europe will become eventually the second best region in the world.
What?
To Korea.
Over China? We're overtaking China now. Fuck it. This is a hot take. I'm strapped in.
I told you it was I don't have a lot of spicy takes today, but this one is my spicier. So
right at the moment, it looked like we were doomed. Like, you were right. They were shit at MSI. By the way, I even made the joke on some of the insight. If you look at the group stage, Europe might not even get out the planes. We're in fucking bad shape for EWC, by the way. So you're going to take us from here, and you're going to make Europe great again. Go on then, Zaboutine. Hit me. How are we going to do this?
Okay, so
how are we going to do this?
This is. It's gonna take a little time, but I look at the raw talent analysis and the fact that China has a policy that kind of makes it extremely difficult to bring new talent within the scene. You're gonna have less and less like becoming like 16, 17, 15-year-old.
Oh, you mean the thing where you're not allowed to, like, the what do you call it?
Yeah, that's a major thing.
Right.
And if you look at like China, Chinese talents, it's aging. So I'm not saying like they're old. No. They're aging, meaning that like the average player age which teams can compete in international tournament is getting older. Okay. We haven't had a Shanks is pretty old. We haven't had a new Knight. I don't think like anyone's coming for like Gala's position anytime soon. Like I feel like there is not that many like super young talents. And if I look at NA, it's even worse. Like, I mean, NA, it's literally like Koreans, second tier Koreans imported and given a green card, or Europeans been
people who were good in LEC 10 years ago.
Right? Like it's literally that. So you know they're not breeding talent. So what remains? Like South America is behind for sure. And then you have Taiwan pretty much, right? Because the rest of the LCP, as good as it is, I don't think Vietnam
is their team's course.
Right? It's like it's one team. And if you look, some players are getting pretty old. And of course you have Hongkyu that seems to be a prodigy. But when you look at for instance, the top lane situation, there is a clear problem with that. I don't think that any of the two have the potential, and I don't know if Taiwan can have a breakthrough in top laners to bring an international team. Then now you look at Europe, and you look at like the fresh arrival of up and coming talents every year, and you look at I have to watch or at least follow, LFL in the second division. There is a complete system where Carmine and Koi and some of the teams G2 are actively scouting. The ladder is coming back at the first ground of the scene of like being the rank 1 matters and stuff like that. And when you look at Kalis, you look at Vladi, Oman is coming in the LFL. You have plenty of very actual young talents from 15 to 20 that are starting to be dangerous for the caps and for the the BBs and stuff like this. Plus, we're importing talents in a league that is not very competitive from the top, but it's pretty stacked. I think that NA is gonna go down. I think Taiwan's gonna go down. I think China's gonna go down. I think Korea is gonna remain the best, and I think Europe is gonna slowly ascend to become second. It's gonna take time, but I think it's inevitable for me.
Okay. That's
You didn't expect that, did you?
No, I definitely didn't. Okay.
Do you buy it?
No,
Can it be better than China?
So the biggest policy that the Zaboutine's like referring to, if people aren't aware, is you can't play pro until you're 18. In China, so you literally cannot be even on a pro team. You can't be on an amateur team, a university team. Oh, you can be on a university team. That's a different thing altogether. Until you're literally 18 years old, and then you can start playing, and that includes LDL. So all the LDL prospects went from being fucking 16 and 17-year-olds like Milky Way in these like contracts, and then you literally can't sign until you're 18. It's one of the biggest like bottlenecks in China. You can take whatever pinch of salt you want, okay, the verification of that, but that is the open like policy for whatever it is, right? And it has affected China in like a massive way, like the talent churn. I do agree, Zaboutine, that the talent churn has been a lot less. There's one thing you have not considered though. China uniquely still has access to the Korean talent pool in a way and a draw that EU and NA doesn't, and it can always supplement the failures in their system with Korea. Like Pays might be the third best, fourth best Korean ADC. Well, he's now playing in China now. Scout might be one of the top 5 Korean mids produced in the past like 5 years, also playing in China. Doinbi, like literally like stolen away from like China. You know what I mean? There's so many. China has an ability to pull prospects away from the Korean sphere. Like the NA and EU just does not have. And on a really serious, like when China goes and gets a talent, they go and get the best in their prime Korean talent. Whereas like EU and NA tend, outside of like Spirit, who just randomly wanted to play on Fnatic, they go and get a player who's just outside their prime, or they're like the setting sun, or like both for like, systemic reasons. And I think that will sustain China for like a long, long, long time. The other thing is, and this is something that people need to watch, they don't get like caught up on, is like when Chinese prodigies like come around, it's not like Kalist, where like people talk about Kalist in terms of like he's a very good ADC, he could maybe compete with the best Easterners. When people see Milky Way, who's Chinese, their minds were actually fucking blown. Like it was like seeing a new realm of existence, that someone could be 20 or 19 and play jungle that well with actual dog shit like PCs outside possibly the support player. So again, it's apples and oranges. And yeah, maybe the EU factory just keeps on churning and the Chinese factory just slows down. But I've watched esports die, Zaboutine, and they don't die in like nice ways. Like old players come out and unretire, like really weird like things happen to like for like talent pools to continue to be supplemented, and China's player base is still like ungodly. Like it's so big. And even then, it's the mismanaged mess that it is. Like as it gets smaller, there's nothing to say they don't start managing it more efficiently. You know what I mean? And like factors changing, like China, with like the tier 2 scene. So I think it's like a pretty big call, and it's a pretty big ask. Because here's the thing: in the whole history of like League of Legends, EU's probably had like 2.5 extended periods of time where they've been better than China. In the whole 15 fucking year, or 14-year history of this game, it's like a big leapfrog.
I just want to challenge, because I think among the policies there is one that like hasn't been mentioned, is the one that like access to video games as a whole is time limited. So obviously you can challenge the Chinese government on monitoring their population, but they are the number 1 in the world at doing that. I think they're much better than the Korean social security system, because to log in or pay or do anything in a game, you pretty much need your face in China. So it's going to be extremely hard for young Chinese kids from like the age of, let's say, 11 when you start playing games online to the age of 18 when they can actually join a team to actually spend the required hours to become,
that's true.
you know, and so I'm looking at that, and I'm taking the example of StarCraft 2. I don't know a lot. I'm not very versed in Brood War, but I watched the golden age of StarCraft 2, which was like 15 years ago now, and seeing the decline of the game in a region like Korea that lost interest in the game, and seeing, for instance, France has a very strong media around StarCraft 2.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of kids kept playing and watching and following the StarCraft 2 scene, and that actually allowed Clem, the young prodigy, to actually rise.
Yeah.
Right? And he won EWC last year against Seral, who is as well not a Korean. So I know that, like, at least this is a proof to me that as long as a game stays hype in terms of media and audience, which is clearly the case in Europe, when you look at the KCX event, when you look at like the off-road shows in Madrid, and you see the fan bases and you see how hype the game stays, I know China has a lot of hype, but because the government is getting in the way of the kids playing the game, I don't see it being sustainable. And you mentioned the imports, so it becomes a very long hot take. But you were mentioning the imports. I've never seen a Chinese team imports 5 Koreans and give them like residency the way NA does. So it's only like max 2. So you're gonna have to have international level jungle supports, mid laners that can fill with these 2 top Koreans that you get. And Pace is not an international tournament right now because I think the rest of the players with him are probably not as good. And so for all these reasons, and I leave it to Thorin to decide which side he wants to go, but I think that Europe is going to rise.
The problem, as usual, is I'm a really good listener. So I try to listen to both what people are saying and what I think they are saying behind what they are saying. So first of all, the main difference between the two of you actually is this. It sounds like Zaboutine's doing the thing where it's like he judges how good you are based on the top teams from your region. So if what he's saying is we could have in Europe, like, we'll just pick 3 teams, a KC, a G2 and an MKOI team that were better than the top 3 LPL teams. That's not impossible. Like that, I do think that is plausible if you get the right, like Keire said, if you hit the right, in the past it was things like meta, like Europe was the first to do the lane swaps if people don't know, or there was eras when we actually just had exceptionally good mid laners and you had to play around them when that was the best way to play League of Legends, whereas actually at the time, famously the LPL always tried to play Dota with the fucking ADCs, and they had weird junglers, and so they didn't understand a lot of these concepts. But essentially, here's the thing. I could take that part. That part is interesting. But if you want to do it like the whole region, here's my problem. I think if you made the circuit of League like CS, where it's not about you're from this region, it's about you just how good are you in the world. If you'd have had a circuit like Dota or CS for the past 15 years, where it isn't just like the top 3 LPL teams, you know, like for example, right now, we had some teams from the LPL that didn't get that far in the playoffs, like JDG. I'd like to see how JDG would do against G2. That's more interesting to me, because I already know anyone's Legends way better. My question is, if JDG can get G2 as well, then their whole region's way ahead of ours. So my problem there is, if you're talking about the whole region, I'm very skeptical ever that once you get down to like team 5 and 6 in the LPL, that LEC can ever fuck with that, with their 5 and 6 teams. I think one thing we've done a decent job in general in the West is making the super teams. And so I think at the top level, it's possible. But I'm sort of with Keire on that one, because first of all, they already have tons and tons of talents. There's the other problem. They might have less talents than they used to relatively, but they already have the most people trying to play the game anyway. Then add in that if indeed it becomes the case, it seems like it in League, that's not actually about being 18 anymore. It's about just being really good at the game. Even if I started 18, I still got 2 or 3 years I can get up to speed though and get really good. I agree with the KR import part. They just have access to much better Koreans than we get in the West, etc. The joke is we had to take Canada out of the recycle bin. They get someone like that before they even become the elite player in Korea. So they, like people like Keire, they were just going to be left outside from the Koreans. Saying, no, give a fuck about this guy. Now he's one of the best supports in the world. Then I'll add in the players they do have already. Right, I'm with you. It's true. They don't get as many like super prodigies anymore. Like when you said that, it actually made me realise, yeah, you're right. Actually, wait a minute. Once upon a time, there was always, you know, who's the next Uzi I? Oh, it's Jankos. Oh, no, wait, it's iBoy. Like, there is no new name there. You're right. There isn't like another super sick. I mean, the joke is a fan now is going to think it's Hope. It's like, he was playing a million years ago. Shank's also played many years in WE, right? These are not new players. But here's the difference. I also agree with Keire, though. I think this is where we always do this thing in the West, where we take the best game of the Western Star and judge that against the Koreans. And then we take the worst game of the LPL Star and judge that against the Koreans. Because I'm with you, Keire. I'll give you an example from this year. So Vladdy has come along and he looked fucking awesome. He's the MVP of the LEC. He just looked all right internationally. He didn't look like some god-tier player. Shanks, this is his first international tournament. He might be the best mid laner in the whole tournament. Like, and by the way, Chovy was at this tournament. Fucking Faker was at this tournament. Knight was at it. Bro, these aren't bombs. And this guy walked in. I think I agree with Yamato. If I have to put an average for the whole tournament, he might be the best mid laner in the whole thing. Like, this guy just never stopped cooking. He was fucking unbelievable. So I do think the problem is, even the odd player they get like that, their rookies are better than our rookies. I'll just put it that way. Like, I think it takes our rookies 3 or 4 years to like get the experience under the belt. Yeah, they have their failures, but they also have the people like this that just walk on water from day one that they get to the international tournament. And then the last thing, my last angle, is actually sort of like what Keire said there. I actually think historically, the LPL's biggest problem is doing exactly what LEC did this year, which is, actually, it's not bad GMing. It's too good GMing. There's too many teams know who the talents are, and you spread them all out. If you ever do, like Keire is saying, and it gets cynical, and Korea just loses loads of its, like has no more imports to China, all you'll have to do, mate, is make a last year's BLG type super Chinese team. Bro, you ever make that team and forget who's from the West. Fucking bring G2 up the time machine, mate. The best Chinese super team, I think, could beat anyone. It'd be unbelievable. So I don't hate your take. Like I say, if you want like the top European teams to be better, a la NA's top team was better than Europe at MSI, yeah, that's plausible. For the whole region, I don't know, that one feels like too much for me. That's you've got a bridge too far for that one on me. But a good hot take as a result. Definitely. And also, coming on the heels of the last one where you were glazed in FlyQuest, no one expected you to say that. You're secretly a patriot. I noticed he sort of secretly, though, if you notice, Keire, he was sort of a patriot in the most literal sense. He just laundered it all through the LFL. Like, we've got the LFL, we've got Carmine Corp. Ooh la la.
I see your true colours, Zaboutine. I see your true colours. Isn't
it? I think that it's.
So you see his true colours. I see his tricolour.
Oh.
There you go, not bad. Not bad.
Sorry, I'm not versed in English enough to bounce back on that.
It's all good.
Good.
I'm trying to be factual because I think that Spain is doing a really good job as well.
Yeah,
I think
true.
Employee is a very good byproduct. I don't want to glaze just France. I would say that like France and Spain are doing.
Oh, they're carrying all the development. Yeah, they're killing it, man.
Right? Because I don't think like Poland is as proficient at creating talent or Denmark.
The real joke is, do you want to know the one area I might even agree with fucking Wooloo? So fucking watch out, it must be a cold day in hell. He is sort of right that content does carry league, because I actually think none of the NLC teams are good. I don't think actually Los Ratoras would even be that good in LEC. But I'll tell you what, the LFL and LVP teams, some of those are really good teams. Like, those are the teams I want to see in the LEC every year. Like, I think those two leagues, those two ARLs carry the development city Europe, mate.
BK Rock just beat SK. BK Rock LFL team just beat SK like right now on stream 2-1.
Doesn't surprise me. I bet the roster even looks better on paper, bro. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, it's SK, guys, so let's be honest. Like, if they lose, it's normal.
Sure. No, I'm with you. Right, okay. Here's one thing. Did you know we have our own development of merch? You can now get LFN merch, Last Free Nation .shop, easy to remember. Now, we actually did do a giveaway on some past weeks on the LFN network. What you had to do was you had to go into like the Discord and put the message in a thing. We've already done the winners, basically. So our merch giveaway results are in. Congratulations to LFN Discord members, Caged and Epion, for being the lucky winners. You'll all be receiving posters featuring some of the artwork featured on 4Play from the LFN Culture channel, where it's me, Richard Lewis, and Monty as like characters from movies we reviewed. Someone from LFN will reach out to you to help get those over to you. More winners will be announced throughout the week. By the way, on the store, I'll just pick a couple of items. They've got like one of these mugs, like a black LFN mug, so you can rep your set, if indeed that is us. They've got stuff like the Founders Edition t-shirt, which is only available for a limited time. Each shirt has a unique number on the right sleeve based on when you place your order. If you purchase now, obviously you get a lower number than someone who purchases later. And on the 3rd of August at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time in the US, we will stop selling this shirt. So this is actually, like, that's why we call it the Founders one, because this is for the people who are supporting us right at the outset where we get all this established. So there's loads of other things. There's keycaps and jogger trousers that are really comfy and all that jazz. So and posters that you can actually just outright buy. So support your favourite shows on Last Free Nation directly by purchasing our brand new merchandise at www.lastfreenation.shop. Last Free Nation, all one word. Go to LFN, get your LFN t-shirts, joggers, desk mats, mugs, and more. We ship worldwide with free shipping to the United States on all orders over $60. Be sure to pick up your Founders Edition t-shirt with your unique number by the 3rd of August before they're all gone forever. Thank you to everyone who purchases some stuff. Right, here's my hot take, boys. Here's my hot take. And what do you know? Just lucky as usual, aren't I? I get to just bang on T1 fans. Oh, that's right. Here's what's funny. What makes it a hot take is if you actually listen to some of the insight, I actually thought T1 played fucking awesome at this tournament. Thought they played really, really... By the way, are you ready? I even think they really could have won. They could have won both the best of 5 series. In fact, I'd even argue they might have had better drafts in both Game 5. They were even leading at points in these Game 5. There's actually so much... And by the way, I didn't think that. I thought coming in, maybe they'd fuck up. Maybe like anyone's engine would be in the final over them, or maybe they'd even get clapped 3-0 by Gen G in a game. Didn't happen. But with all that said, it's a 2-part hot take. So, hot take part 1, probably the most satisfying part, is this tournament proved you are all liars that you only care about Worlds. Because here's what you didn't do. When T1 was up 2-1 in the final, or when T1 was coming into the final, they gave them that really great game that Ruler barely carried in Game 5 of the up one, did you all sit there and go, who gives a shit? I'm not even going to talk shit. This tournament doesn't matter. It's just a warm-up. They're probably not even trying. They'll just win Worlds. No! You were all locked in like a motherfucker. I wish I could have seen every T1 fan lean forwards a little bit after Game 3 of the final. I bet you were all champagne cork ready, fucking balloons in the rafters of the red and blue, white ready to drop down. You were all ready to go, chalky, fakey, he's just too close. You were ready with it all. So 1, this tournament proved you all care about MSI. You all do, and you're like me, you also love Let's Globe. But here's the part 2, and part 2's connected, Zaboutine. This is where I know people from T1 who are fans just love Faker, not for his game, just for who he represents in the anime of League, and they hate Chovy because he's the antagonist. Because here's my second part to this take. Bro, if you took the exact Game 5, and I could do, you know the famous device from Men in Black, the movie, where you hold it up and it deletes your memory of what just happened. Imagine I could do a deletion like that, right? And so going into the game, no T1 fan knows who the players are because I've taken the nameplates off. And I just show them Game 5 against Zaboutine. And what I do is, 2/3 of the way through the game, I pause it and I just say to the T1 fans, you see the Aurora there? That's Faker. Do you see the Ari? That's chalky. They'd go, oh, you're right. Yeah, look. Because the Aurora, look, I told you, Faker's the GOAT. This proves it. Look, he's making all clutch plays. He's doing like unwinnable shit. He shouldn't even be able to win with that draft. Do you know how hard that champion is to pilot? Oh, and good old Chalky. He's choking. Look at him. He's just waiting for that one fucking charm. Oh, you're going to land the fucking charm, dickhead. What are you going to do? Land that 10 times in a row? No. See, I told you. This proves that Faker is the GOAT and Chalky will never match up. And then I'd have to go, sorry, got it the wrong way around there. It was the other, actually, Chovy was the Aurora, and you know the guy just desperately trying to land that one charm like an Ari trapped in a solo queue game he can never win. That was Faker, actually. You know the one who couldn't
inhaler,
the one who couldn't make the clutch player, the one who couldn't. Yeah, unfortunately I lied. It was the other way around. You bitch-made motherfuckers. Where was all that? You were all ready to go balls deep on Chovy if he lost that game. If Chovy had played the way Faker is, you'd all say he was a coward and he couldn't find the player. That's why he's a loser. And if Faker had done that Aurora game, you would glaze it as the game of the fucking century. That game was fucking mind-blowing, bro. That was everything you told me Chovy isn't. He was fucking godlike in that game. So there's the 2-part. 1, I think I've proven they do care about MSI. It's definitely not only about fucking Worlds. That is some bullshit narrative. And then 2, I actually do think that the way the 2 stars, Faker and Chovy, played Game 5 proves that once certain narratives are set, they can just never be unset. They're just like that permanently, mate. Like forever, Chovy will be a choker, and forever Faker's the most clutch player ever and can never not be clutch. So what do you think, boys? Who wants to come in on this one first?
I want to react on that. The first thing is, in my review of the final that I made on my YouTube channel, I was like, I literally said the movement of Aurora with the dive on the top lane is an opportunistic move that Faker is usually known for. Yeah. And this time, the most clutch player in the series was Chovy. So, of course, the jungle support is putting pressure and burning the summoner, and Keire is making a critical mistake of being having an erratic movement in the top river at a timing they should actually clear a wave. But it's not a movement that's decisive if Chovy doesn't move. The whole game flips when the Caitlyn Karma snowball gets stopped by the dive, and that's Chovy seeing the opportunity, sizing it, and putting the Caitlyn down, and then he actually can allow Ruler to win the game, right? And everybody's like, "Oh, Ruler played an amazing game." It's like, yeah, but the starting factor is actually Chovy moving, and I already say Chovy was more clutch than Faker. The most clutch player was Chovy in this final, in the game 5.
Yeah.
You can compare the rest of the tournament. I don't think Chovy dominated. I'm on your side, Keire. And you know, like Chovy didn't dominate as much as like he did domestically, but he did the Faker thing, which is not being as dominant, but finding these windows where he actually presses his buttons and he actually wins the game. So I'm completely on your end. The problem is your take is only hot if you're a T1 supporter living in a delusional world where you can't look at games.
That's everyone on the internet.
Which, I mean, I'm not. Right?
There's literally millions of them.
Yeah, no, exactly. You say that like it's a rare, almost extinct breed. It's the most. They've overtaken the world, bro. The lemmings. There's a million of
Bro,
them.
the Urukai are only dangerous if they kill you, and then you look outside Helm's Deep and it's like, fuck, there's an army of them. Fuck.
Among us three, I don't think any of us is a you know. So,
No,
so
true.
It's pretty. It's not that hot within this podcast, but for the comment below, it's gonna be, oh my god. Like, you're gonna break some people's vision of the world. It's like, oh, Chovy's been clutch more than Faker. It's like, I can't go to bed.
Oh, by the way, the other thing is as well, Zaboutine, I don't know if you were actually listening to the English language broadcast, obviously, but believe it or not, the other problem is the English broadcast really, I said this on Somebody Inside, they almost treated this like this was Worlds. Their whole narrative was like, T1's going to clutch it out, and like, can we trust Gen G, sort of? So I will say a casual fan might even believe that narrative. By the way, like in the game 5, no joke, Zaboutine, the English casters would like, they were like doing the meme of what I just said. They was like, will Faker get the charm? And it's like, what game are we watching? You're talking about the wrong guy. What are we doing here? So they were setting that up hard, bro. That was like the main narrative.
I absolutely hate the fact that the narrative ended up glazing Ruler's performance.
Oh, they also went crazy on him. Yeah, of course.
They had to give the MVP to Chovy for the entire series, and I think he completely deserved it. But the fact that they still had to bring that final back to Ruler being the antagonist to Faker is so tiring. But coming back to your take, because I don't want to steal too much of the speech time, I do believe I'm completely on your side for both. I just feel like no one's going to go against it within this podcast.
True.
So we would have to have a fan can go on the Discord and try to attack this take, because for me it's if
a fan does a really good one, tell us why we're wrong, and if you do a good one, I'll read it on a future episode. Let's do that.
Exactly.
I'm with you. And by the way, I even know what you mean, Zaboutine, because that is actually, in my opinion, as someone who's worked 70 plus events in Counter-Strike and done 8 Counter-Strike World Championships, I can tell you the biggest flaw of the Riot broadcast is that they don't work on the fly, Zaboutine. They do decide in production meetings what topics do we want to hear, what narrative. So as a result, as you're saying there, they did make the narrative, not least it even happened in the bloody tournament, the Faker versus Ruler in the mid lane. They made that whole narrative like that's the antagonist. I know what you mean. So the joke is they're not going to last minute switch to it. And here's why it's Chovy against Faker. I know what you mean, but I do agree. I actually think they missed the story on that one. That's like you forced the narrative too much. You crowbarred it a bit too much. Go on, Keire.
One wee quick one on this, by the way, because I actually went back and checked this, and I actually think I can pinpoint the event, because MSI did used to matter to T1 fans when they were winning them in 2016 and 2017. And by the way, okay, it's genuinely because of 2022 when RNG wins it with the ping, okay? Now, I actually do agree with the T1 fans. I really struggle to call that a real MSI.
Oh, like,
bullshit. I really do struggle to call that a real MSI, right? But that
wasn't even a land, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, that event genuinely, like, because they needed to emotionally understand and be able to deal with the fact that they lost it, okay? And that, like, for one of the first times, like, this team that looked destined to do all these great things, they then just began to say, oh, well, MSI doesn't matter, and they pretend that every MSI after that is the ping non-land, like, MSI. Right. They pretended 2023 was that as well, because it was a double Chinese final with LPL. They pretended it was that again in 2024, because it was the Chovy, like, grand montage MSI, and again, and when they were on the precipice of doing it this time, and they looked like they were almost going to win, they were so prepared to stop pretend doing it, and then it didn't happen for them, and then we're back again once it's like, oh, Chovy's like probably the best like mid-season international. He's probably the best MSI player ever. Like he's won the majority of the good versions of MSI. But the other ones are still important, and you bring that up and it's like, oh, where's this world? And it's like fucking hell. It's just so boring. So yeah, like, in terms of like fans going to have to emotionally deal with like the realities, it's like it is going to be like a hot take in the sense of like people are going to have to start facing like basically the facts of what do you call it, like, you know what I mean, the narrative does, like, at the end of the day, like he sometimes feel like he is, but Faker isn't Superman. Like he can get you close, he can get you there, but he doesn't always like save the day, doesn't always have like that extra like gear to go to, unfortunately. And it's just kind of the way it is.
I want to supplement your take with something, because I think that within the rabbit hole of having to break down your mental picture of something facing facts, I think the T1 fans are going way too hard on Doran.
Oh,
so I'm gonna just say that.
Yeah, I'm not even a Doran fan. I thought he played pretty well.
I am a Doran hater.
He played pretty well this tournament.
I am a Doran hater. I don't like Doran. I feel like this player has been mad overrated by Korea for the longest time. That said, he played amazing at the road to MSI, and that's a given, that's a fact. And he played extremely well throughout the whole tournament. It's been very consistent. There is very few occurrences where I've been like, oh, Doran's actually playing very, very bad for the whole tournament. So I would say, I would supplement your take by saying that fans will go to Doran saying that he's guilty because it's the only changing factor comparing to last Worlds. But he has been the second best playing player at T1 this tournament. After Keire, totally unfortunately, I think Keire makes the crucial mistake that caused the Game 5 of the final. But throughout the tournament, Keire has been absolutely amazing in winning games after games. So I would say, take it as it is, fans. Doran's been the second best player.
I think that's a good hot take, because I'm with you, by the way, especially because in Game 5 he fucked up, like in one of the fights or whatever. I agree. They tried to blame him every time he failed. But, mate, he had a whole bunch of games where, one, he was good in lane, two, he carried team fights. And by the way, you could take the nameplates off again, and you would think this was like a fucking Zeus or Keen type person going on the back line and fucking up the team fight. He was really good, yeah. No, I'm with you. Right, let's do a fan take. So here's a good one for you. Just get ready.
Go on.
So this is by someone called Zabel, which is it's like a Polish spelling of the name. It says, my God, just buckle up for this one, Zaboutine. Perkz, Jankos, and Wunder would all be top 3 in their role in LEC if they came back now. Thoughts, Zaboutine? I see you in pain here. It's the top side of that fucking team that they had in their X last year, guys. Top 3 in their role if they came back now.
That's like, I've said it multiple times when he was still playing. The last time Perkz was a reference as a mid laner in Europe was 2017. It was 8 years ago, because 2018, he was good, but he was not the best. Already he was second to Caps. And then he switched position 2019. He came back in 2020 for a little bit, but then... And then at C9, for whoever took the time to watch, I was watching because I was still like involved, you know, in LCS. I was still interested in the league I just got fired by. He was running it down in lane. And then he came back to Vitality and he was... whatever, he clutched a LeBlanc game as he always does.
By the way, if anyone wants to look up an example of the game, just look up the game in Cloud9 when he played like mid Renekton or something. There are some like criminal games. Yeah, there's some bad ones.
Yeah, Irelia games just running it down, wave 3, the game's already over.
Some bad ones.
He put TSM out, so God bless him.
Had years of proving himself after G2. Like, we're not speaking about hypotheticals, we're speaking about factuals. You can look at his lane. His champion pool went from ocean to literally like a drop of water, picking Renekton and Ornn every game, playing weak side or Cyan.
Gragas or whatever.
That's about it.
Sure.
Minimal effort. Like, Mikic stayed on top for the longest time. Cap stayed on top for the longest time. There is discussion about Jankos having less hands, but being more of a Sheo now. But no, Sheo is just the better Jankos because he's still playing the game. So you're going to tell me you're going to take these old guys that have won insane amount of like games and titles, insane amount of money. They have retirement sets, and they're gonna grind the ladder 20 games a day to come back at their prime, or we just hypothetically assume they're just gonna be good by just taking the game like 2 or 3 solo queues a day and playing. Right now in Fearless, where you need to play like 7 champions at each series to be able to like just draft. So I feel like this is just an insanely uneducated take from someone who, same thing, like you have the body pillow of the player at home, that's good, right? You do whatever you want.
Okay.
But we're speaking about facts, and we have games to prove that it's not true. It's just not true.
Oh no,
Where we going?
That's too much for
Where
me.
we going? Do you agree?
Too much. Oh, bro, I don't want to entertain this, but this is too fucking crazy, man. This is like
It's a weird take, I'll give you that.
Bro, it's like you go into the old folks' home where they're like all the G2 legends are like playing like bingo, and it's like, you know, Wunder's like telling you about like a Camille game, but he's actually playing Monk
Right.
World of Warcraft.
Okay.
Like, what they call like Jankos is playing some like old ex-Soviet Union / Poland like field game where you throw a ball and something. He's telling you about how he could hit every niddly spear in the land and all that, but he's throwing the shot ball out of the fucking park. And like Perkz is up there, he's literally got his like LeBlanc game versus RNG, and he's playing it back to all the other old folks home people over and over and over again. And it's like you've got your mind's eye of who your legends are, but they're not them anymore. It's like going and getting like Pele, right? And then when he kept on talking about his records and putting them on or like go and get cokehead Maradona and tell me like he'd still be like the top guy for like the Argentina squad. It's like, yeah, they would probably still have value, but like those like they were setting Suns at one point, and now the Sun has the only player that I actually think could maybe do it is Wunder. Like, come back and like because there was like glimmers of it when he came back into Fnatic, where he was still beating like BB and like land. I could maybe see Wunder making top 3, but that's the only one. I would struggle with the rest. I really would.
If I can add something just to kill this take forever, it's just I opened the 2017 LCS Europe players. So you have names that you probably forgot about, right? Like Mysterious Monkeys or Ninjas in Pyjamas, and people like Llama Bear. Like mid lane of Mysterious Monkeys was Cosq. Yeah, of course. Yeah, Caps was better. And Jankos looked like really, really insane. But like he had to face junglers like Lulex and Price Talker and Trashy, and Shook that literally disappeared 2 years after because the competition was too fierce. Like none of these guys even have a slot in the LFL anymore. Like Fabe even was playing in the LFL last year and he couldn't sustain. Poor Feeble won the EU Master last winter, but that's about it. And he had a pretty long career. So none of these guys are even playing the game. Like the few players that still play to this day from 2017 are like Hansama but most of them retired or something. And thinking that these players, because they had such a lead at this position back in the days, they would just come back here today with the players grinding 20 solo queue game it's mind-boggling. And I think that the worst part is not that the fans, and we see these takes here. You know what's the worst part? Is the GM believe it too. And Fnatic GM believes that. And that kills me.
By the way, I'm with you. I do think, bear in mind the take was that all 3 could go. I think this take is absolute ass cheeks. This take would be worse than they would be in the game. So it's absolute ass, not least because actually, to tie to what Keire said, I've always said the weirdest thing about esports, by the way, I'll never do the thing people do, which I think is nonsense when they talk about men and women playing games, which is they go, it's a purely mental game with no physical component. That's not even true. Like, spoiler, people like Duncan, Simple and Chovy have like mind-melting mechanics that like I will never be at, even if I practice every day for the rest of my life. So there is a physical component, but it does seem like as a game, because a lot of what seems like makes you excellent in esports is weird things like strategic elements that don't exist in sports. Sports are a lot more physical. And then also things like your mentality seems to be enormous. I actually think in esports that like 1 year in a pro career in esports is worth like probably like 3 or 5 years of a sports career, because yeah, you can, if you get really amazing in sports, you can just chill at the top for like 10 years and be amazing. That you'd be like the craziest outlier. Like the joke is even people like Faker didn't do that in League. He was just like a good player for 10 years. He wasn't the best. He wasn't even close to the best for every year for 10 years. So I do think what people are missing here is in their brain, they're just thinking 2020 wasn't that long ago. That is like saying, I mean, the Maradona one's too old an example. I'll give you an example. That would be like saying Thierry Henry could play now. Well, yeah, he could play and be like the 28th best striker in the league, but he couldn't beat Thierry Henry. Like, even he would tell you, no, I definitely couldn't. No matter how much practice you give me all the time in the world to warm my back up and eat right. So I do think, put it this way, of the three he listed, the only one I'm even willing to entertain is Jankos, and that's mainly because we're thinking more like the peanut angle. Like, that's a brain roll. Jungle, you can get away without having crazy fucking mechanics. You can play a Sejuani and a Poppy and something, and even when you play a Lisa or a Jav, you just do it tactically to pick people off on the map and help you carries, etc. I could maybe believe Jankos could. Even then, though, by the way, I'd have to stack the deck. Like, I'm already thinking he has to basically probably take, like, Yank spot on KC or something and have all super carries around him. He can't just go to, like, because remember, he didn't say what team. He can't do what he did last year and be on Heretics, like, a mid-table team and be top 3 in his role. That's not even plausible. I think at this point in his career, he'd need very strong solo laners. Perkz, listen, everyone knows I like Perkz. And I won't say he's a friend of mine. He's an acquaintance. And I obviously vibe with his story a lot. There's no universe. I'm telling you right now, there's no universe he could be top 3. Again, maybe in the best case scenario, he could be middle of the table. He could be like a serviceable player. Again, he also has like a sort of captain element where he could be a leader and stuff. But as an actual mid laner, not in your fucking lifetime. Mid lane's way too good now. You know what? I'm not even a Humanoid fan, but Humanoid would cook fucking Perkz right now. Are we even talking about that for real? And then the Wunder one. Listen, here's one area Wunder was very clever. Because in the last few years, because he always had the vibe of, like, he just plays World of Warcraft anyway. He's never given you the vibe after G2 that he was ever going super hard. He wasn't on Fnatic for that long, like, a year and a split or something. After that, he's just come back to stand in, or he did this one where the vibe was, he just did it because Jankos and Perkz were there. That has allowed him to very cynically make himself not look bad. Because one, he's always weak side. You do notice that. Two, as a result, every highlight in your brain of Wunder the last 3 years is just him surviving a tower dive 1v2, and then 3, it's when he plays Gragas. That's it. That's all your that's like he just made himself look good on bad teams there. He would, if you actually made this guy, because here's the problem. I remember the real Wunder. I'm talking about Splice Wunder, early G2 Wunder. That guy is levels beyond what Wunder would do now. Come on. Even he would tell you that, mate. Like, again, that was a really elite player who could fuck with the best Asian top laners. This guy would have a hard time against Canna and fucking Broken Blade. What are we talking about? Like, so I'm with you. I do think this takes absolute ass. Just fucking ass, boys. It wasn't good. Keire, do you have another take?
Oh, I've got one for you, mate. And this is one I feel passionate about, mate, right? Okay? So, the Hall of Legends is dog shit, okay? But under Riot's paradigm, okay? And by the way, I actually think the next inductee to the Hall of Legends should be Doublelift. The NAADC. And let me tell you why. So we're not going by like skill, okay? Because Uzi made it in second, right? And there is no player as talismanic to his region as Doublelift is to NA. He is literally, now if you remember back in the day, right, okay, because Doublelift's like one of the players that I like grew up with, literally like grew up with. So on like an emotional level, I like felt like his journey. So let me go give you some of the categories.
So you Doublelift is like the Naruto in the shonen anime that you were cheering for the whole time to make Hokage.
Okay. Mate, the very first like heartbreak I had to deal with was watching Jaedong like die in StarCraft Brood War, and then the next one I was a Doublelift fan. So anyway, let me go through the first one, okay? So he, back in the day, you can literally go look this up on YouTube. There's a famous video made in 2013, and it's called Doublelift, Man of Steel, and it's basically analogizing that Doublelift is basically Superman. And he literally is. He's an American-born immigrant with insane skills relative to his region. He is literally the Black Swan, one of a kind, and has never been replaced, and it doesn't look like there's anyone close to ever replacing him in his region, like, ever. And he was, like, a one-of-one, right, okay? He, like, faced, like, all these failures and all these, like, emotional, and his, like, rivals, the people he was expected to beat, were all these like larger than life like opponents. Like in season 2, it was like Wei Zhao and Prey on the best like Korean team, the best like Chinese team, and he was always like this guy that like he talked shit. He had like one of the biggest early like streams, like growing it. He was massively influential. Like back in the day when like people would like talk to like Koreans and stuff like that, he was like the only like Western ADC or the person from NA who they would actually see that like, yeah, he's actually got like skills. Like the KT Arrows or Bullets team that won OGN, the bot lane, Arrow and Hachane, only respected Doublelift and Afro move from the entire grouping and the boot campaign, because they actually thought they had skills and they were OGN like champions, right? More than that, right? Okay, he has a talismanic pick. Lucian, as in like you think Doublelift is like the Lucian, and it's also appeared during his like iconic period of like time where like he was like that was peak of his powers, like Doublelift, like the perfect version, and it was also like the perfect synthesis of all the different things of Doublelift. He also has like he has the arguably of any Western player, he has the best storyline ever, where he has Doublelift trophy case, where he literally was famous for having never won anything. It was literally this larger than life glooming presence. He had to basically live his entire life with all these players being claimed that were better than him, and he was constantly fighting it, and then he turns it around. He is not just he wins 1 or 2 titles, he is the most decorated in North American player ever born, and he is the best domestic player in that region, like arguably ever, behind like an import. And the last thing, but not least, he had, and people talk about him not having international success, kind of bullshit. Won't go too much into season 2, but he does have one feat that's mega legit. He has Team Liquid are the only Western team, EU has not even done this, to beat a reigning world champion when they were world and domestic champion, when they beat IG. And I don't care that like, oh, IG played badly. They were literally like 8-2 or 10-0 in the fucking groups, beating T1 in like record time. That achievement, and I know they were bad in the final, but that is a very, very, very good thing. There's my sale to you boys, okay? That is, my Doublelift should be the fucking next Hall of Legends player.
You can go on, Thorin. I'm trying to think about what I think about it.
So first of all, the reason it's a good hot take is because if you just put that as the title, it's nonsense, isn't it? The idea Doublelift should be the third person to be in a Hall of Legends is fucking insane. Like, if you thought I was going to go mental about Uzi, without context, I would go insane about that take. Like, he shouldn't even be top 5 fucking ADC, never mind any other role. So, but if you're going to do from this angle, the idea, and also, by the way, I actually do think, believe it or not, fans would even say if you're going to do an LCS play, it should be Perkz, and they'd all pick Beichuan instead, really. So I know what you mean. It is a hot take in that sense, but I do like the take if you put it from the perspective of how you did it, which is if you want to make it like he is the most iconic NA player. First of all, he's the only actual NA player that I think even gets on any of these lists. Like the joke is the other great NA players were Jensen and Perkz from Denmark, but he is actually a real NA player. I mean, technically born in China, but you know what I mean. And also, I agree. He was crazy talismanic in a way even those players weren't. Like I'll give you an example. Jensen actually did just have to hard carry teams whether they win or lose. Beichuan was the man and was like the super carry, blah, 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 all the rest of it. The weird thing about Doublelift was, except for rare years, he never even was the guy who grinded, if people don't know. He was actually the guy who looked like he dicked around in the split, just got to the playoffs, then started like leaning forwards and fucking focusing. And then, as you say, it is crazy, his narrative, that he went from, lol, he's never won a trophy, to he won the most LCS titles of anyone ever. He even overtook Beichuan. He won the most of anyone. He won more than like TSM or whatever. Like what he won at the time, TSM had all of them. So that in itself is mega. So if you want the impact and the cultural impact, also I was thinking when he was saying that, in many ways he just. And by the way, I also agree that's a mad underrated accomplishment because Team Liquid got rocked in that MSI final. People just act like the IG game didn't happen. Like first of all, miss me with but IG was arguing and stuff. I bet every result ever that was a massive upset against an Asian team is some story like that. It's like Nami had fucking food poisoning, or you know what I mean? Like, it's everything like that. But the reason why that is a banger take, Keire, is as I have to sit around hearing Team Liquid and FlyQuest tell me how they almost beat a good team. No, Doublelift didn't almost. He actually beat the reigning world champions, who, as Keire said, after the group stage, were odds-on favourite to win that tournament. They were. By the way, at the time, G2 couldn't beat Chinese teams, and T1 were going to lose them. They got rocked in that group stage and looked average as fuck. So I'm with you. I actually think it's a mad underrated accomplishment. And then if you look at NA as a region, isn't Doublelift just NA the avatar? Right? He trash talks and is mad arrogant, whether it's deserved or not. But do you know what? That is part of the charm of Americans, isn't it? Then there's the whole angle that, like, essentially, he's allowed to be a dickhead, be rude, not practice, as long as at the end he's the strongest in the game and he wins. America is ruled by the concept that might makes right. That is their philosophy in the world. If we're on top, then you can't criticise us. If we did it wrong, who cares? We win and did anyway. And then lastly, I do also think if you look at the peaks of like NA teams, he was one of the main reasons why you ever had he was in the conversation I've done a million times, Keire, in modern day, about like, you know, if MCoy goes to MSI, I'll be like, because of Elyoya, you have a chance though. He could be better than the Asian jungler. Yep. Doublelift is one of the only NA players ever who was even allowed in that conversation. Take anyone else. Listen, I thought people like Meteos and Smithy were good. They were never like going to beat fucking peak LPL jungler, peak LCS. Doublelift, actually, there was times where he was comparable. He was in the conversation with the Uzi Eyes and the rulers of the world and Reckless and Death. That was a real convo. That was a legit convo. No, I'm with you. I think it's actually it's a sleeper hot take. It's a good one. I like it. Go on, Zaboutine. What do you think?
I feel like it's a really good hot take because I think it's actually right that like the problem is I think the most important part of your take is within the Riot framework because I think that because it's a marketing incentive.
Oh, you'd also sell fucking tons of skins too as well. Like make the fucking Lucian on the Vein skin and you'll sell tons. Yes.
So I'd say something very simple because I don't really have like the problem I have is Doublelift played for so long. Him and Pobelter, right, and Wild Turtle played for so long that their list of achievements within NA is like almost unmatched with Jensen and Bjergsen that you mentioned as well, and maybe Xmithy. The history of NA as a region is very, very hard to, analyze because it's such a chaotic region, like the tier 2 and anything below the top 3 teams was pretty much garbage for the longest time. No, garbage in terms of management, guys. Like I'm not speaking about the players. Like if one day these stories of like the tier 2, tier 3 NA teams comes out, people are gonna their mind's gonna be blown.
Okay.
If you think EG is bad, wait. So because of all of this, it's really hard to rate them. I would say if they do so, I don't know if it has to be the next one because I don't know if like NA will buy more than EU, for instance. But if NA has to be the next one on the list, I agree with this take. Just make it in a way that if you die with your flash, something specific happens. If I spend $500 on a skin as a Doublelift skin and I die with my flash, I want something specific to happen. Because I think at least for EU fans, Doublelift was always the guy that comes to international tournament as a promise of being like able to match Chinese ADCs, which were the best back then, and die with his flash. So that's my only request to Riot. But aside from that, I believe like it's actually a great take. I would do EU first, like I don't know, like a Caps or I don't know, XPK, whoever you want, and then I would go to Doublelift.
You got.
I agree. It's a really good take.
But Zaboutine, you picked on it. EU is a much more contested slot for like who is the talismanic EU man. Where like Doublelift is like a bright star in terms of like he shines like he is such an easy one to do for. Yeah. And the thing is, it helps that he himself is also retired as well. And by the way, Doublelift is massively famous in Korea and China as well. Like not like to the extent of like what some people over egg it, but like the whole idea of like there is like Doublelift is a very well remembered and liked person in those scenes as well. You would sell a shit ton of skins. You would.
No, by the way, that's also the cynical angle because like for example, also Maple should be in there for doing regions.
Yeah, exactly.
The difference is he going to sell as many skins as Doublelift? Probably not. No. Probably not. Right, Zaboutine, do you have a take?
I have one second. Oh, it's a pretty simple one I wanted from MSI, but I think that Beichuan would not be a top 5 jungler in LEC. But I think it's a pretty mild one.
Is that even that hot take? I know.
Bro, I've got my Grey Goose jacket on with this. Like that's like the fridge is cold. Like bro, he sucks. He's terrible.
He was really bad in this tournament. He was bad.
It was terrible. I mean, I don't watch LPL as much, but that's the I don't know if you guys want to go with this one, but because like on win trading because being tired of his jungle, being tilted to his bone. Even Knight saying in an interview that like the chemistry within the team is not good, players not talking to each other. He's just looking lost. I just feel like if Razork was playing in BLG, they probably would have made like at least 3-2, right? 3-2 against AL, or maybe like 3-1. But yeah, I mean, maybe I can rephrase it as like, yeah, I feel like Bukara could have played in this team and it would have not been better.
I will say, I do think the take that I had at the beginning of the year, which is now just looks awesome, was everyone did that thing to me where after Worlds, when it was announced BLG was going to stick with Wei and they let Jun go to JDG, everyone did this thing of like, yeah, but that's because, they didn't want Jun anyway at Worlds and, they preferred Wei and he did win the LPL. And it's like, bro, they have never looked the same as when they had Jun. Like that, I actually think that will end up being one of the worst roster moves ever. Remember, if one fight goes differently, you would have been world champions with this guy. You tell me you don't instantly pull out a contract and sign it. Of course, like that's what's crazy, mate. If you want a similar take, Just bring Jun now into BLG and you would have had a chance to be in the final. That's real. Because I know what you mean, even though it sounded like a me where you run through the players. Bro, here's how I know that BLG themselves didn't think they could win. Mate, Knight still in every series has like at least one game where he goes fucking crazy. But they ever look at them, they don't think they can win any of these series, mate. If I have a player like Knight, I should believe as long as or the rest of us don't fuck up, we have a chance to win. You could tell BLG was just mentally checked out the whole tournament, mate. I never believed ever they thought they could win. I'm with you. I think it's a good take. And I also think Beichuan, I would struggle to think of a LPL jungler who's gone to an international tournament and been worse. I mean, even when you pick the ones, the Tians of the world choking. Yeah, but they're great players who choked.
Yeah,
this guy, I've always said this, the only reason he is on BLG is because, one, Thundertake beat them in fucking winter, and then two, no one else is available because they did the roster move like right 2/3 of the way through this split. Like, if they were making a list of people to pick before this guy, it would be like 10 names long. It would be crazy long. There's so many players they'd rather have in this squad. You know what I mean? So I do think, if you want to make that order, I think he might be the worst LPL jungler to ever go international, mate. This is terrible.
Yeah, there's adapted take. Like, I'm not joking. Here's the thing, like, because like me and Nymera talk about it, and he had like the games against like the people.
Well, the joke is, if you ever saw, I don't normally call people out, but Nymera did really early on. There was one game, I think it was against Anyone's Legend, where he called it out like, "Hey, Beichuan haters eating bad tonight." It's like, I noticed you didn't tweet about any of them after that, mate. Like, you sort of bailed too after that one. Did he give me a break?
The thing was, is that it was a bit like when Doran was banging on the Oyster's top laner, and then all the Korean fans are like, "Look at Faker bringing Doran out of his international shell," and it's like, bro, Doran's supposed to skull fuck all these people. Like, he's Doran, bro. Like, and like Beichuan's the exact same. He was like beating people he's supposed to beat, and then against anybody who's of like any repute, bro. Like, Inspired taught this guy jungle lessons. Like, Beichuan will be asking the referees after the game, like, "Can I get those VODs of Inspired POV?" Like, and then he's like scoring out the fucking like name with a marquee pen so they can't see, and he's like got them in a bag, like fucking big ant, like what, bro? Like, it's actually so. I've never seen someone so skilled and deft in all my life. And by the way, can I just say, FlyQuest looked like they look destined to beat BLG, and then they turned into Almost Man. If Knight literally just doesn't go like Galio, like roll back the clocks, like it could be like a completely different story. I am saying it's a cool tech, Zaboutine, just because it's like he's not even a top 5 LEC like player. Here's the crazy thing: I actually don't know like what would be the utility of them being like on any, like, why is he on any top team? This is the problem with Beichuan. It's like he is the ultimate aura reducing player of anyone. Like, he has no presence. Like, even think of like fans, the way fans think about like the big carry things, like Jun. You see Jun Kindred, you know you're in for a fucking banger. Jun Vi, banger. You know what I mean? Like, fucking Tarzan, Zeds, Maokai's, Canyon, Nidalee, Beichuan, hope he doesn't end. Like, what's his fucking... I know he's not had, like, the time. But, like, and being at, like, LPL, I watch the LPL as well. I can't even big this guy up. And I want to big him up. And I want him to be better than what he actually is. But he's, like, he's just a laner's dog. Like, and they take him for a walk every now and then. But most of the time, he shits in the house.
He just kept the dog metaphor going on that one. You can see where he was going. You know, it was a bit of a rough game for him at the end. You know, whatever.
That's right.
He smelled like wet dog the way he was covered in tears at the end. Whatever. You can keep it going. Just keep extending it. It's all good. By the way, the problem is though, to get an actual good jungler from the LPL, you'd need to take care of your money, wouldn't you? So maybe over at BLG, what they need is a Ridge wallet. That's an excellent way to keep... Keire has one. What do you think of yours, Keire? That's the key case then?
Yeah, the key case. I actually have to unscrew it and unuse it. I'm actually going to buy like another one, because this is such a great like thing. If you're someone like me who wears like lots of like dark jeans and like trousers, it doesn't cause your keys to like cause like lines or markings in them, because the blades aren't like, they're like concealed inside the carrying case, and they fit like way more snugly than having them all in like a bundle on like a keychain or something like that. So it's got a much more sleek fit. This product right here is I would actually say S tier product. As in, like, I take it and use it on like a complete daily basis. Love it. Like, great fit. You can still use it basically just as a key ring and put it in like a bag or something. But it's an absolute banger product.
Yes.
Fucking.
By the
great
way,
pickup.
in general,
Great
I always tell people, both the wallet and the key case, I actually think what's cool about these as gifts, either for yourself or a friend or family member, is they're just like tiny quality of life upgrades. They just make something that you already use anyway and you don't think about slightly better. So if everyone had the old classic leather wallet, again, if you sit down, it's really obnoxious to sit in a cinema with a massive fucking wallet with all key. This is really small. It's so compact. I actually, for real, have sat in a car and forgot I even had it in my pocket. Like, oh, fuck, it is there. Also, I actually do like the fact that because these are like sturdy material, I don't know about you, Keire, but I can always instantly tell if it's in my pocket or not. Like, quickly, I don't do that like, like when you're at a concert, you think you fucking left your phone on the coat thing or whatever. You know, I know it's always in my pocket. I know exactly where it is. I never leave the house and don't have my keys with me, etc., which is the nightmare, obviously. Also, you can do all sorts of shit that people might like. Like, you can put an air tag on this if you want in case someone nicks it or you lose it and you need to find where it is in your house. It has the RFID blocking shit, so no one can use like some wizard fucking hacker guy can't nick your money by just walking by you. My actual nightmare, boomer nightmare of technocracy. Also, it has like a lifetime warranty, 99-day risk-free trial. It has free shipping. It has everything, bro. They've got all different, like, you notice ours with different colours. They have different colour schemes, different materials they're made out of. So for a limited time, our listeners can get 10% off everything at the Ridge website. Key cases, this stuff. I think they even have like a fucking bag or something, like a backpack they sell now or something. You can get 10% off everything at Ridge using the code. It's on the screen. It is HOT, H-O-T. At checkout, just head to ridge.com and use the code HOT, and you're all set. After they purchase, you will be asked where you heard about them. Please say Last Free Nation or Hot Take Point Made, and then you help us out too, and you get a dope wall out of it. Right. There is still one more take. It is another fan take, and maybe this will be the one that ends the show. Let's see. So Tallahassee Riot Supervisor, banger name, by the way, said, if you remember, that was the original MSI one in 2015, like in Tallahassee, like Florida or wherever it is. Like, I can't even remember where it was. It was some bumfuck nowhere place. And then his take is an interesting one. I like this take. You ready? He says, had G2 signed Elyoya going into 2023, which if you remember was the rumour at the time, and it just got, it was back and forth and it got rebuffed and they signed Yike instead. It said G2, he thinks G2 would have had multiple international semi-final appearances up until this year, and that behind, if Perkz had gone to Fnatic, he thinks this is like the biggest what if in LEC history. So if you'd have had basically the last 2 years of G2, but instead of Yike, you put Elyoya in that spot, he thinks they would have been in like semis of Worlds and MSI and stuff. Thoughts, gentlemen? What do you think of this hot take?
Right, okay. I could go on it quickly. I've got one problem with this. They might have done better internationally, which is the paradigm of this. But Yike literally still has like all the domestic like stat records for 2023 like Winter with the bot lane, by the way. And that was like his like rookie year. Like Winter 2023 Yike and Summer 2023 Yike is a very, 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 very good player and a very, very good rookie. Spring Yike does have these like problems. Obviously, Elyoya contributes to them losing that domestic split, and that's where it would have mattered most at the MSI. If you hyper focus on the MSI, I think that's where he could have made the biggest difference, because G2 kind of all peaked together going into the MSI. Elyoya beat them domestically, but then G2 done like the fucking Attila the Hun, Scourge of God to them, 3-0'd them in the lower bracket. Had Elyoya been with the team at that MSI, that's where I see this take. That's the best place for it. Now, can I hold hands on it? I'm really like struggling because there was other deficiencies in that team just beyond it. Like, they lost games just because Caps didn't know how to use Windwall and Yasuo. I don't know how like Elyoya fixes that. Maybe because you have Elyoya, you have a different type of team where that's not a problem. But just kind of taking people relative level for relative level, because you're basically saying they would have beaten BLG or Genji in the lower bracket, and that's a big ask because that's who put them out. And the Genji games, the BLG games, they got them to places where they were like winnable, and it was stuff like Hansama not cleansing like stuns and stuff that like really put them down. So I don't know, I can really be like, yeah, Elyoya being there is going to give me such a big delta over Yike that makes up for those mistakes. I think it would have been a very interesting team, could have been a very different team, and I think they maybe would have done better internationally, but I think Yike was a very, 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 very good player in that opening split. I think he's actually like quite underrated.
Yeah, he's so underrated for no reason. Yeah, he doesn't have all the styles, but when he can play his style is really, really good. Like very few players actually play all the styles. So I feel like it's a complaint that's kind of a non-justified towards Yike. I think this team would have been very interesting. I'm alongside you, Keire. I think it's just having a very proactive jungle with Caps and BB at their prime would have been very interesting. That said, I think that you do not fix Mikix being an Inter last year by changing the jungle. And I don't think that Yike is a weight within the team that's... I don't see Yike being
Zaboutine,
a problem.
It wasn't 24, it's 23. It's the initial roster. No, it's not the 24.
Yeah, I know. But last year, right? I'm considering the same span of time where Elyoya would have spent 2 years, right? If I look at their campaign last year, I think that the bottleneck of G2 last year was the support position, and the kind of the parting ways with Mickey X was kind of a consequence of it, which seemed legitimate from the performances of Mickey X within G2 last summer and last Worlds. The year before, I think it was a global performance deficit, and you cannot tell. Elyoya has been very consistent internationally, guys. Please, let's be honest. He's a Mad Lion product, so Mad Lion is always a letdown. I don't think he had insane performances at World. I think Alvaro played at MSI, at this MSI 2025. I think Alvaro played out of his mind. I think Jojo played out of his mind. I think it was much harder for Mirvin. But Elyoya was definitely not a standout within MCOY this MSI. So saying, this player that had so many letdowns within his career would have joined G2 and done better than the player that had, besides his champion pool, no letdown at all. The only problem of Yike, and especially with Fearless, and we saw it at first turn within Casey, is after you remove Lilia, Skarner, Maokai, and Ivern, he seems to struggle a little bit on bruisers, and he's not as proactive, but he's still the best on controlling jungle in Europe. The only guy that can challenge him in that field is probably Sheo, but Sheo has less hands than Yike. I feel like Yike is just massively underrated. And yes, it would have been an interesting team, but I think the team would have exploded because too many voices. I think if you put BB and Razork and Mickey X and Caps, and then you have someone that's pretty hands off, like Dylan Falco, that kind of just thinks about the draft. The draft priority should have catered towards jungle, which is a problem when you have such strong laners. It's the same problem they have with Skimon currently. So I do not see it being better. I see it having more problems. But maybe if their pick aligns with the international tournament, they could have done better. Semi-final, my ass. The semi-final Worlds is a far-fetched territory right now for Europe and for the West in general. It's a lane where very, very few teams can access. Currently in the world, if you take Genji, T1, HLE, and AL, you have your semi-finalist. Then you need a lucky draw to get in. So I think it's completely far-fetched to think that they could have reached semi-final. Doing a decent performance quarter is the best that the West can hope for at the current moment.
I'm sort of with you in the sense that, I'll start where you were at the end. I was also going to say, I actually think it's a better move than maybe you say, but I do also think the semis at Worlds, again, I tell people this all the time, you all forget it's not just that, the West isn't as good. There are now 4 teams from Korea and China every year. That's your playoffs already. You already have to basically be better than one of them already. And then you need the Swiss lock. Swiss is all lock. It's what you draw is. G2's had some rough draws even. Meanwhile, actually, sometimes the flag across the world have had the easy draws or they're not as hard, the NRGs, etc. So there's already luck involved in it. It's not just pure skill making it. But I'm with you. Here's the difference. If you said to me they could be in the quarters of Worlds, now that is plausible. I do think they could do that. Maybe they could also do a fly quest and give a good game to a team and, have a chance to win but not win. I do think if you look at how MSI worked last year, maybe in MSI, if you have an awesome run, you could have come third or something. That's not impossible. G2 almost did beat T1. That's plausible. But I don't think, here's the problem. What he's trying to sort of do here is think that essentially Elyoya would have allowed us to just continue that G2 2019, 2020 to oh my God, we can even win these things? No. That is so, the joke is, even if they'd have made the semi you're talking about, you're saying they'd always be in semis. Mate, one semi would have been incredible. That would already have been holy fuck, is this a top 5 Western team ever? Which, by the way, is what everyone said at the beginning of the Yike roster when they were looking awesome in Europe in winter. They were fucking smurfing. They actually looked like one of the... there are a few reasons. I'm with you on one thing, Zaboutine, which is I do think what people are mistaking is this. It's actually baked into Elyoya's career. One of the impressive parts of Elyoya's career, I'll give you the analogy, strategy is he's essentially the Steven Gerrard of his teams, isn't he? His teams are all about him. It's all about he has to be the best player. He has to have the setup. But if you do that, he is really good and he might help you beat a team that's better than you. The problem in this case is just like Steven Gerrard, we'll never know what it would be like if Steven Gerrard had played in Chelsea or Manchester United where everyone else was a fucking all Premier League player. We'll never actually know how would he have fit in a system. He was the system. That's the point. I think Elyoya's the same. I think because he never did get to a G2 or Fnatic, every roster, even the Mad Lions that won those 2 titles with Humanoid, mate, those rosters are fucking rough. Like, once you get past Humanoid, I'll give some credit to Kazi. That's not even the good Kazi in the modern day, by the way. I don't give a fuck. I don't even know how that player won. That's some cursed monkey paw shit. And then Kaiser was just whatever. He was all right. Like, these players aren't godlike. And then you look at the other rosters. He's been on some semi-scuffed rosters. If anything, what people love about Elyoya is the idea he can sort of like floor raise a team beyond the level they're supposed to be at. But I do think, to Zaboutine's point, that means essentially everything caters to him. That wouldn't be the case if you went to G2, mate. If you go to G2, I'm with you. If I have all those fucking carries, I'm spending my picks on them, mates. Like, I'm sorry, if they can ban you out of the draft, mate, we're not first picking your fucking jungle champion. Like, again, in this scenario, you're just a really good jungler. You're not actually Canyon, bro. Like, we can't pick like that for you. So I do think it's not as easy a fit as he thinks. But the one area I am with him, though, is I do actually think Elyoya being that sort of forceful personality also might have actually made G2 different. Like, I'll give you an obvious example to me. One is, if you think about how Keire has played in this era with the Spanish roster, bro, Hans Sama would fucking love this guy. The whole job is open up bot lane immediately as soon as possible. Hans Sama would be on board with this move, I'm telling you, mate. Even if I think this year of Caps, mate, the way Caps plays now, he could probably vibe with an Elyoya. Just follow the fucking jungle around, do whatever. Like, that would probably work at this point. Caps himself isn't sort of the same decisive player he used to be. So here's the thing. I can see an angle for it. I can see it. And by the way, I would have also loved to have seen that move, like I said, with the Gerrard example. I want to know, is Elyoya the guy who has to be the big fish in a small pond? Or could he also have been a really good role player on an excellent top team? We'll never know at the moment, sadly. He spent his whole career in these weird scuffed rosters, which, yeah, he's won, but they've never been the number one team, have they ever, at any point in time, really? So I think it's an interesting one. As usual, though, you've overhyped the take. Like, the idea they'd be in semis for like 3 years or something. Like, I don't know about that, bro. Like, that already would probably make you the greatest, wasn't it? Semis every time. Come on, bro. Come on.
Shout out to fucking Elyoya for being a bus driver, though, and doing it without caps. That's fucking legit.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
By the way, that makes all the championships he gets are fucking legit as anything.
No, absolutely.
And he gets way more stars for doing that, because that is hard, by the way. You cannot undermine like that as a thing. You genuinely can't.
No, by the way, it's the same analogy with the Steven Gerrard one. And the whole point is, if you're a Steven Gerrard fan, that one Champions League counts like 3, doesn't it? That shouldn't even be possible to win that. What are you talking about? Like, look at their roster to this day. I still think that Milan team might be like a top 5 team that ever played football, mate. Like, it's fucking bonkers, isn't it?
It's so good.
Right, okay. I think that'll be it for this week. Thank you to everyone who submitted the fan takes. Obviously, check out the merch store. And if you want your future take, by the way, if you can defend that take earlier about fucking... What was the one that we wanted them to write in for?
It was the T1 take. Oh, it was the...
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Oh, what was it?
Oh,
you need to rewatch the VOD back. We watched it, roll it back.
Anyway, there was a take that if you can argue it properly and submit it, we will feature it in a future one. So subscribe to Last Few Nation Discord, go in the channel, like hot takes, LOL or whatever. Put the takes there, and we will see you on a future episode, probably after EWC of Hot Take Point Made.